In the loving words of Collin Griffith, this last year has been a whirlwind of life events and memories. I'm thankful that no matter what I encounter or experience, I have family, friends, and a community of people who are here to support me, even on days when I have not been my best me. Collin had just turned 39 years old, posing a big happy smile next to Collin Griffith, her son. In other photos on her social media, she declared her son to have made her so proud. Someone's got a job. Happy early graduation present. Congratulations, Collin, on your brand new 2024 VW Jetta. I love you, and I am so proud of you.
When you look at this, you see a kid. When I look at him, I see a psychopath.
The social media video and stills posted by mom Collin Griffith hid a dark secret. Collin was emotionally disturbed
multiple times and said this to numerous people that he was going to kill her.
Collin hates me and I'm tired of this. I'm going to drive to get him, and if he doesn't get in the car, then the county can deal with him.
However, Collin would die at the hands of Collin, her love child. In her eyes, he was her sweet boy, and he had been through so much like herself. Compared to social media, things weren't going so well. And though this is a case about crimes that Collin had committed, we need to talk about Collin too, because as much as I believe that she was building her life up on social media, manifesting everything that she desired it to be, it really just wasn't that way. Everybody has hurdles. Everybody has challenges. There is such a presence of, I've arrived on social media. I've got it figured out. I've got the body that I wanted. I've mastered the diet. I live my best life. All I do is travel and get the picture right on the first try, on the first snap. Truthfully, I'm guilty of that myself back when I had social media and when I was going through some pretty hard times. I did that years ago with my social media. And honestly, I look back on that and I'm a little bit ashamed and I'm embarrassed because behind closed doors, there was a lot of trials and tribulations within myself that I was facing at that time. So anyway, we have to talk about this because it reminds me of Chris Watts a little bit, where the social media made something look a certain way, but really there was some things going on behind all of that. Collin Griffith was the biological child to Catherine Ann Griffith and Charles Robert Griffith. Now we know that Catherine had just celebrated her 39th birthday in September of this year. Charles either was still married to her and they were separated, or they ended up getting divorced, but that was her husband, and he was born in July of 1981. And Christopher Griffith, who's 24, was born in 2000, and at the time they were all residing in Oklahoma. Then comes along Collin Griffith, who was born in 2007. So that just lays out a bit of a timeline of the family, which is super important. So just focusing on the father, Charles, he had a bit of a record. Some traffic violations, but also some indicators of financial issues from back when Collin was just a little boy, all the way until Collin was a teenager. Now, I don't feel like it's the right thing or a moral thing to uncover Charles and Catherine's entire records here, so I'm not going to do that, but I am going to let you know in my own way what was on there a little bit. And I'm going to tell you about some circumstances and things that just went on within the home that might kind of lead to a buildup that happened where we're going to talk about the crime. So again, traffic violations and financial troubles. And it was pretty repetitive between Catherine and Charles. However, there was a misdemeanor on Charles' record for battery in 2012. Now, it appeared that it did end up getting dismissed, but it was located on his background check. At this time, Collin, their child, would have been about 5. Okay, so that's Charles. Now going into Catherine's side, same. Financials, traffic violations. However, in 2017, she was looking at a felony as well as a misdemeanor. Collin would have been about 10 years old when this happened. These charges were filed against her in Florida, so obviously they had moved from Oklahoma to Florida sometime between the year of 2016 and 2017. Now, according to court documents, Charles was the victim of this, and Catherine was a teacher at the time. Charles had said, "I am in fear for my safety. I would like a no harmful contact with provision that she can't take the kids." And then it goes on to say they've been married for several years. It also says that Charles states it's okay for her to return to the home, but also, very importantly, that the kids witnessed the incident. The misdemeanor was on a touch or strike. The felony was with a deadly weapon without intent to kill. So, again, it said that the children were present for this fight. This was a physical. And if there was a weapon and there was striking someone, battery, that's pretty terrifying, I would imagine, to watch. And then it goes on to evaluate Catherine, to which you can see that she clearly doesn't really have a big criminal record at all. There's no trouble with substance abuse, alcohol. Kind of sounds like she's just a teacher, a wife, a mother, and that things got out of hand this time. She ended up pleading not guilty, and then later Charles ended up dropping the charges, so they ended up getting dismissed. Now, they did own a house together from 2004 to 2010 until they filed bankruptcy, and then it went on to show that in 2011 that somebody else had bought the house that they were said to have owned. So that's a lot of history, but here's the thing. That is a lot. I mean, a lot to go through as a child. And remember, they had Matthew and Collin, but here's the difference. Matthew had no criminal record. In fact, it looked like he did pretty well with his life. Like, he was listed to be a paramedic. And Matthew went through all that stuff too, according to documents filed. So that then leads us to eventually get to discussing Collin. It was obvious that at some point his parents, Charles and Catherine, decided to divide, which was probably for the best. Patterns don't lie. It seemed like this family financially struggled. With all the traffic violations, it seemed to me like they were always in a hurry. And according to the 2 different battery charges in totally different years on each parent, obviously things were not going so well. Obviously, I don't know them. I was not there. I could not tell you how often these things were going on. But I imagine there were probably a lot of times that things were going on that went unreported. And I also imagine that this is when Catherine ended up deciding that she was going to move forward and she was going to be more open with her feelings about going forward. She would post things like, "What did you expect me to do? Sit around wasting more time on you? I focused so hard on what I wanted that I lost sight of what I deserve." And then she goes on to post this big thing about the abuse from Charles that her and her boys endured. You could see in those photos that she posted, this family looked pretty happy from the outside looking in. They were going to Disneyland, you know, big smiles. She put out posts about bigger events that Charles had attended as the father, such as holding the children when they were born or attending really big events like birthdays. And then she ended up revealing her side through a strengthened post of healing and resilience and things like that. And in this post, she looks really good, but it's what she says that matters. And she says, "To all my haters that pretend to be my friends, I'll only have to say, you tell me time has done changed me. That's fine. I've had a good run. I know I used to be crazy. That's because I used to be young. I was a child. I was 12 years old. I needed protection, not excuses. My trauma didn't make me stronger. My trauma didn't do anything but give me sleepless nights, PTSD, anxiety, and trust issues. Please don't tell me that my trauma made me stronger and healthier, because it didn't. I'm healthier and happier because in spite of everything, I believe that God is going to use my life and my experiences to help others know and learn from my trauma." Seems promising. Well, if you haven't heard about this case, this is no happy ending. Catherine and Charles were murdered by the same person. Their son, Collin.
A cold-blooded murder of a 39-year-old mother by her 17-year-old son. And it's not just a singular murder, but as we got into the investigation, we found that about a year and a half, maybe a year and 8 months, 9 months earlier, he murdered his father in Oklahoma. So let me tell you about this. It all started on September the 8th, which was this last Sunday, when we got a 911 call from Collin Griffith, who's 17 years of age. And here's what he said. He said he and his mother had a very long fight, and she fell on a knife and killed herself. And she's bleeding from the neck. He didn't say she killed herself, said he's bleeding from the neck. So our 911 operators appropriately were giving them instructions on how to do life-saving techniques. When the deputies arrived, he met the deputies outside, and he was calm, cool, collected. So he's saying that his mother fell on this knife. We started our investigation at that point. The next morning at the medical examiner's office and the autopsy, the medical examiner said it is not reasonable or plausible that she died the way that he said she did. Just didn't happen. There were witnesses outside the mobile home that actually saw Collin drag his mother into the house by the hair on her head. Collin is about 6 foot and 160 pounds. So an investigation started. This residence was at 77 Hewlett Drive, which is Auburndale, and it's called the Hamptons. It's a 55 and over community. And where it occurred was at Collin's grandmother's house. Collin's grandmother at the time was not there. She has another home in the Keys, and that's where she was. We find out that this is not just a singular event with Collin stabbing his mother in the neck and ultimately killing her. Here's what we found. February 14th, 2023, on Valentine's Day, Collin said that his dad pulled a knife on him, and he shot and killed his dad. That's right. His father was named Charles. He shot him once in the chest and once in the head, and he claimed self-defense. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office and the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations charged Collin with murder in the first degree. They dropped the charges less than a month later. They said they could not disprove Collin's assertion of self-defense. So he was released. Well, when he was released in March of 23, just barely a month after the original murder of his father, he came to Charlotte County, Florida to live with his mother. And when he came to live with his mother, Ann Griffith, who was 39, you would think things would be better. He would be really, really lucky that, hey, this was a self-defense and I'm here with mom. But 6 months later, guess what happened? He's Baker acted. So it's September, and as he's getting out of the original Baker Act, he makes a statement that, well, I'll kill myself or I'll kill my mother by shooting or stabbing her. Charlotte County re-Baker acts him the same exact day. They keep him 3 more days. Now we're 2 months later. This is November 2023. Collin then is arrested for domestic violence on his mother. And the reason he battered his mother is because she was disciplining him and took his video game privileges away. So he beat up his mother. He pushed her to the ground and he stomped on her. The grandmother was there and witnessed this. Collin said it was self-defense. She made me do it. The grandmother said, no, no, no. Your mother did not provoke this at all. You simply were being disciplined and made to give up your game because of failure to carry out what you should, empty the garbage, wash the dishes, whatever they gave him to do. He claims self-defense when he stomped his mama, but he went to jail anyway. 3 months later, 12th of February in 2024, he has an argument with his mother, and he runs away from Charlotte County and comes back to Auburndale to his grandmother's house. Now, his grandmother's not there. And we got involved in this on the 12th of February. And the grandmother said, hey, we don't feel safe with him around. So our deputies who found him up here as a missing persons reported in Charlotte County turned him over to DCF. 2 days later, On the 14th of February, the anniversary of him killing his dad a year ago, he's reunited with his mother by DCF. Collin made the statement that, "I don't want to go home. I'll use any force necessary to avoid it, to include killing my mother." So that's the second time he threatened to kill his mother. Later, so they didn't make him go home on the 14th, but about 2 weeks later, in March 2024, they reunite Collin with his mother again. Everybody's calmed down. Now in May of 2024, Collin graduated from an alternative high school in Charlotte County and began attending community college. Now let's advance 4 months later to September the 6th. Collin has an argument about home chores, and he flees from his mother's house again and comes up to his grandmother's house. Grandmother's not there. She's in the Keys. So then mom lets the event calm down, and she tells her son, "Hey, you need to come home." And she asks him to come home and face his responsibility. Collin says, "I'm not coming back home." That was September the 7th. So now we're to the fateful day on September 8th. Mom drives up here to Auburndale from Charlotte County. She arrives at 4 o'clock. At about 4:30, witnesses and neighbors see Collin and mom arguing outside, and Collin grabs his mother by the hair and drags her into the house. Just about 2 hours later, that's when we receive a 911 call where Collin said, "I've had a very, very long fight with mom, and she fell on a knife and she's bleeding from the neck." Our investigation clearly and unequivocally shows that that circumstance did not occur like that. In fact, he used similar language to when he made the 911 call, 18 or 20 months earlier, when he shot and killed his father. It's important to understand, when you look at this, you see a kid. When I look at him, I see a psychopath.
Collin is still 17 years old, which means that he was about 15 years old when he murdered his father. When he killed somebody, he was 15 years old for the first time. Wild stuff. But they are trying to charge him as an adult, and they need to. It's sad for me because I don't know what Catherine meant when she came out and said, "I was 12, nobody protected me." I don't know where her story is because she's not here to tell it. All we can get are the bits and the pieces of what she left us to know about her. And again, I do have to credit her a little. It does seem like she was a bit honest through some of her posts about things that she was healing from, but it also revealed that things were going well. She had this really big smile. She lost all this weight. You know, she broke out of the marriage that was making her miserable. And yet on the flip side, things were not well. Collin was not doing well at all. He was a danger. He was violent. He was dark. He killed his father. I remember when I went through my abusive relationship and I talked to a good friend of mine about getting back out there, getting on social media, and she could tell at the time that I was just a hot mess, and I was. And she told me, just don't. What have you got to offer the internet right now? And it made a lot of sense. It made sense because it was not much at all. It was like I didn't belong there. It was like I really needed to live in my reality. And I think sometimes social media really gets us thinking about the life that we really wish we had, because filters can fix it. If we say the right things, we can still inspire. If we just post that we're happy, then we can eventually believe that. In my opinion, there's a time and a place to be on social media. And some of you might not like hearing that, but I'm saying it because it's from a place of love, and I've had to learn that lesson myself. I don't have any right now. I don't have any social media. It's not because I'm in a bad place, but the reality of my situation is I'm an autism mom. I could be out there talking about that all day. I have things to offer for that, for sure. But I don't think my son wants me using our progress and the healing and the love and the support that he's getting as a person to feature myself as a hero. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I could roll off the things that my daughter have been through. She has this whole story that nobody knows about because she's so kind and she's so empathetic. And as a life coach, I could get on there and be like, you know, post of the day, being a parent is hard, but here's how we make it through. And I could talk about all the things that we do and the conversations that we've had and the tears that we've cried, because we have, but it's sacred. It's something that belongs between us and our reality. But the other problem with having social media is also that you can really miss what's going on. It can really distract you. It can also be a danger for you and to your loved ones. I'm not smashing on it at all. If you're on it and it makes you happy and it's healthy for you, I'm very happy for you. I think it's a wonderful way to connect with other people. But at the same time, I think that she was really going through a lot, and she was very busy trying to create a life on the internet to show that she was okay. And I think that there was a lot of trouble within the walls of her home. And I'm glad that we have what she gave us, but I also feel like maybe that was a contribute to something that maybe could have just waited a little bit longer, just in my opinion. But she was beautiful. I loved her attitude. I just wish that she would have been able to not bail out her son. And I really wish that she would have just taken that time to maybe just get him the help. And I feel sorry that the only thing that she's remembered by was being a 12-year-old that wasn't protected, a battered wife that left her husband, and a trying mother that wanted to live her best life ahead. I'm sure she was quite lovely and a really good school teacher. You know, she posted a note about that was very kind. I think she was very loved, and she was taken far too soon. So have you guys heard about this case? It's scary. It's scary. So yeah, I'm rooting for him to be tried as an adult, and I don't think he's ever going to see the light of day again. Something was seriously wrong with him. And God bless Matthew, wherever he's at, however he's doing, and the grandmother and all the people that were involved. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was great to see you. I hope you have a wonderful week. Stay safe. Honor your husbands, respect your wives, be there and hug your kids. Be blessed, loved ones. I'm Chelsea J.